Hold on, real quick. Listen, this is the Gray Area Podcast.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets with no tits. It's the man who loves to break down scripts. Welcome back to Lights, Cameras, Distraction. Yeah. Today, we review a movie based on a book, Killers of the Flower Moon, by Marty Scorsese. And his favorite fuck toy, Leonardo DiCaprio. And Robert De Niro back in the 80s, they used to get their shirts off and paint white rooms for no reasons. Yeah, but this joint, again, I don't know how you saw it 6 times. Spent time doing was getting to meet the author. And Mr. Gran is his name. And I got to learn a bit more about his research and how he came about this research. And it came, I'm going to dive deep into this today, ladies and gentlemen, because you have to. It's a movie based on historical events. And when historical events, this is the key to this whole conversation of lights, cameras, distraction, is because we as a society tend to look at movies and think that the depiction that we're watching in front of us it contains historical accuracies. And we are here to let you know that this is not true. Now, not to say that what Marty Scorsese put on screen, was fucking was a fallacy. No, it could have given you more. Right. So back to Mr. Gran, who wrote the book, Killers of the Flower Moon. I think he wrote it back in 2016, I believe. It took him 5 years to write this book. And he writes the book because he visits a museum and sees that picture of the Osage people, who at one point were the richest people on the planet per capita. We're going to get into that. But he notices that there is a portion of a picture missing. And the lady says, well, that's because the devil was in the picture and we took it out. Like, what the fuck? So they eventually show him the picture, and it was one of the people, I don't know if it was actually William Hale, who's the main character in the movie played by Robert De Niro. But it was a person who was also out there killing the Osage people for their money. So now let's get to the basis, the context of the movie. So the concept of the movie is, and the book, is that during the 1920s, in the description of the movie, in the synopsis, they tell you that the oil companies were giving the Osage a lot of money for their land, which then drew white people to infiltrate the Osage and murder them for their head rights, which was this money that was being given to them by the oil companies, and then they would be able to take that money once the Osage were dead. But this has a lot of background to it, and it has a very long history of racism, degradation, and just plain savagery that led up to this period. That being said, let's jump into you guys, see what you guys thought of it, and then I can keep introducing more historical aspects as we move along. But I always love to share with you guys and see what you thought. Guru, let's go with you because you watched it more than Scorsese did.
Yo, man, you know what I'll say? I'll start by saying I like the idea of there being a rich population of people that aren't white. They were running shit and getting money, but the whole idea of these people coming in and saying, "Oh, listen, you guys aren't smart enough to run your own money. You guys aren't smart enough to run your own finance. So let me put this white guy in position. We're gonna put a white guy in position. He's gonna run your money. Don't worry about it. You can still buy your car and your fly stuff, but he's gonna be taking money from you on the back end. He's gonna be denying you for doing things on the back end. It's like this has been a plan forever with all types of people, and so." Yeah, I think in the book or the whole setup too was like they gave them that land thinking that it was barren and it wasn't shit with the land, and then you finally realize there's some oil. And these people are rich now, and they kicking themselves, right? It's like, damn, we should have kept it. And so they found a way to still be in these people's pocket. And it's just a disgusting tale, man. To be honest,
I'm glad you pointed it out. So the people have been terrorized and hunted, result of genocide since the 18th century, right? Since the 17 fucking hundreds, right? Especially the Osage who worked with this is an ill piece of land. I mean, they started out like the Ohio valleys, right? So they eventually have to deal with not only the British, but the French, and then the Spanish who were coming in from the South, right? So there's a long history of these people dealing with Europeans, dealing with guns and even working with with some Europeans against other Europeans. So this is not even originally their land. Like they're forced off of their land. And this is another thing I found interesting. At one point, these are people. This was a nation of people, right? And by the time they get to the basis of this movie, right, in Oklahoma. Remember, Oklahoma was barren. Oklahoma wasn't even a fucking state until like 1907 or something like that. They're only at about 2,000 people, bro. See, this thing I feel Scorsese should have told us. Scorsese should have been like, yo, man, look at the long history of this once beautiful nation that Thomas Jefferson was like, yo, these people are fucking beautiful people. And now, in 1920, there's only 2,000 left. So they moved the motherfuckers all the way over there. They're like, yo, people left, people died. I mean, the population already dwindling. Fucking oil is I'm going to the long history of oil. We will in a little bit, but oil is discovered there. Now by the 1920s, this population is like, yo, again, one of the richest per capita in the world. This guy kept saying, the author kept saying, like, yo, man, you know how hard it was for one person to own an automobile? Meanwhile, the Osage, a regular Osage person with this oil wealth, the amount of money they had today could have been valued at like $500 million. Can you imagine that between like almost 2,000 people? It's a lot of money. So they would hire white servants. So in that aspect, I wish you would have shown that. I wish you would have shown more of that. You know, like an Osage person just kicking an old white lady in her tits. Like, yeah, go get me my porridge, my porridge, you patty. That'd have been more. I should have been in some real shit.
But
But
that
they
puts them
did
in
it.
a bad light. They put them in a bad light, so they would never do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Oh, you know, like the scene in Forrest Gump when Bubba's mom finally gets her money. That's an ill line. When Bubba's mom finally get her money, and then she has a white servant. That shit. I want to see
That
that
was
shit.
that perfect scene, bro. Yeah.
Perfect, right? But the thing is that I feel Scorsese didn't go into that as much, right? Scorsese focused too much on this one family and what was happening there. I mean, I don't think he even did a proper introduction to what William Hale was, right? And we learned that William Hale was always a con man
Right.
in history.
And we
He was
also
always a
learned
con
that
man.
he was 30 years younger than Robert De Niro in the film. So he's not an 80-year-old man. He's more like a 55-year-old man at the time of all of that happening.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, he was born in 1874. Right. And then that took place in the 19. Yeah, you know what's wild? Thank you for pointing that out because at the end he went to jail, but he was able to come out, and then he mentioned how long he lived, and I was like, damn, this dude died like at 300 years old. Like,
let me tell you something right now. All three of them. So Ernest Buckhart, Byron Buckhart, and William Hale. All three of them died on the outside, free men.
yes. Meanwhile, was it Molly? Died like at 30 years old and shit.
Right, and they want to blame diabetes, but it's really the
poison.
treatments that he was giving her for 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But all right, so I watched the movie a bunch of times because that's how I get with shit like this. Gangs of New York, all that type of shit. I dive into it, man, and I really break it down. And you know, my wife hates me for it, but I get to it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I got a list of shit.
Do it.
So the cameos, there weren't too many, but there were two major ones towards the end of the movie that I really appreciated. Brendan Fraser, John Lithgow.
Yeah.
I really like that. You know what I'm saying? They're two heavyweights, and you just see them for, I don't know, the last 40 minutes of the movie, or the fucking 3-hour and 25-minute movie.
Yeah.
That leads to the second point. It was drawn out.
Yes.
A lot of it was drawn out. Yeah.
Which is my point, is that it was drawn out, and in that drawing out, again, this is what the problem is when you take on movies that have historical value, right? That what you're maintaining the narrative through your very tunnel visioned perspective. You could have given us more of the historical context.
Right.
I mean, there was only that brief part where some of the Osage were like, yo, there's been hundreds of murders.
Right. And there were 2 points in the movie where there was group outrage.
Yes.
And yeah, it did nothing really came of that, you know.
No. So now, as an audience member, you're watching. You're like, all right, maybe this just happened to a couple of people because you're gonna forget that
Right.
quick line in a 3.5-hour movie.
And we're only, like you said, we're only following this one family, and let's be real,
Exactly.
it happened to hundreds of people.
Exactly.
You know, families, individuals, children. They left out children.
Children,
They were
yes.
killing children for head right.
Yes. They did not go into the killing of the children. You're absolutely correct.
You
It
know,
was killing of children.
so it got really crazy. I think one thing, my third point, one thing that showed me was, you know, in the beginning, when he courts her and they're getting married, and you know, amidst all of this, people on the outside are still dying. Nobody in the inside has started to die yet. I think it showed us what it could have been had motherfuckers not been so greedy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there were white people integrated into this community, and at when you look at it from the outside, it seems like they were all well intentioned. You know what I'm saying? But as the
Yeah.
movie, obviously, as it continues, it gets worse and worse.
Well,
Um,
let's go with that word intention. This is why I like opening it up, because this is what in a sense a Socratic method of learning is. You open it up to other people so you don't dominate the narrative. So the intention. Let's go back to this idea of intention. Who do we in mind? Like, who do we blame? Is it a white man? Is it? It's the fucking system,
of course,
right? We have to understand that the treatment, the embodiment of the ideal of the indigenous people, because I can't call them Indians because they're not from India,
right.
of the indigenous people on this land stems from the period of manifest destiny. I mean, it goes into the first settler colonies, right? I mean, they were brutalized as savages. Those that were running from religious persecution then come and persecute those who are not part of their religion. Real funny story, America. So my thing is that in the 1800s, now we start going into this idea of manifest destiny and moving westward. And I mean, this is not a fucking thing. I mean, this is what white America has done, is considered other races a problem. I mean, you have the Indian problem. I think I spoke about this shit to you and Tom Muggs about I got the book that came out in the early 20s, the Negro problem. There's always a fucking problem with people of other races in the
Right. You
university.
know what? I'll say this. For anybody who wants to have a good idea of European colonialism and what they pretty much put it on a map, but specifically for Native Americans in America, you need to watch a mini series called Exterminate All Brutes.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, they put on the map exactly how many Native American nations were throughout this whole country at
Yeah,
one point, right?
yeah,
And over the years, they managed to decimate all of them.
yeah.
All of
With
them.
a plan, strategic.
Right, for sure.
That's what goes back to my point of with the word you mentioned, intentions, right? Because we live in a country that, our history books tend to say, "Oopsie daisy, it wasn't our fault." No, it was your fucking fault. I mean, and again, I'm not blaming people that are alive now. No, but there is that connection. If you want to really if you want to not only examine history, but approach history's issues, then stop feeling like it was your fault and just be like, "Yo, man, I was not alive. This happened, and this happened. Let's look at it." So even Mr. Grand, again, the author of the book "Killers of the Flower Moon," was not that informed of this strategic genocide of the indigenous people.
So my
So,
question to that, my fault, real quick. My question to that would be that would make sense to me only because who's giving you the most technical information? Is it the native?
no one is.
Right, right.
No one is. So, let's talk about institutions, right?
Because real quick to
And
that point is, why would I give you the information if my job is to kind of keep you in the dark? I don't need you to know everything. I'm gonna
Right.
give you I'm gonna give you a certain version.
Like, yeah,
Sure.
we got caught red-handed. It was wrong. It's been some time. You know, right, right. I get it.
no, forget about it. I mean,
Right,
just forget.
right.
I
It
mean,
never happened.
what's crazy is that you die, and we all right. You say you saw it 6 times, right?
I saw it probably
What?
five and a
So
half times.
what? So we just said forget it. I just said forget about it. Right? William Hale in the movie says that.
Yeah.
He says, there'll be outrage, but the
Yep.
people will forget.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't dumb. No. This is the thing about when you study history, every fucking person who understands history understands that the majority of the population is fucking stupid. Yes, I said it. Lights, cameras, action. Right now it's Rich Funk. If you think it's about you, then maybe it is.
Mm.
But examine history. I'm talking about going back into Greek philosophy. They'll let you know that the average motherfucker is dumb. And I can pull things over your eyes. And you will forget because why? You're too busy being hungry and wanting to consume. So, this is not a covert operation. That's what I'm trying to get to. This is not a covert operation. Let's get back to the idea of head rights and into that. Right. So, you guys ever heard of the Bureau of Indian Affairs?
Right. I
Right?
have. Yeah.
Starts in the 1890s. Is still around today. These motherfuckers are the motherfuckers who are supposed to be the motherfuckers representing the indigenous motherfuckers in the motherfucking land of Washington. Yet, if you go down their fucking history, these are the people who were the frontline soldiers of genocide. It wasn't until 1937 that they finally, 1934, that they apologized for saying, you know what, maybe ripping indigenous babies away from their mothers and throwing them in Christian concentration camps that we called boarding schools, and which, by the way, they were fucking like molested and shit. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe eradicating indigenous languages wasn't a good idea. They said this in 1934. So, they were the ones that were always like, yo, man, we have these people cannot, they're childlike. And this is something that America did a lot, especially like in Vietnam, in Guam, in Puerto Rico with the fucking insular cases, in Cuba, in Dominican Republic, that they would say, yo, these people are racially inferior. They cannot understand democracy. They can't understand our civilized ways. So that's when this whole idea of you can't spend this kind of money. You don't know how to spend this money, and that's when they start getting all these guardianships. And it was again the Bureau of Indian Affairs, a place that people thought, an institution that people thought was supposed to be protecting them, was actually harming them.
And that seems, as per usual
Yeah.
for the system, for the machine. You know what I'm saying?
But it should have been in the fucking movie more.
I agree with that. I agree with you. Know what the funny thing is? I'll tell you this. The funny thing is that when I saw the trailer for the movie the first time, I thought it was gonna be, this about to be some Scorsese, DiCaprio, De Niro gangster shit. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was gonna be some real, I don't know, whatever, Departed, but period piece. And it wasn't. Once I did the research and I found out what was really going on, man, it gets crazy. It really does.
You guys want to know how many barrels a day were being pumped out of Oklahoma during this period? About 700,000 barrels of oil a day.
Wow.
That made these people that's why they became such a hard target.
Right.
Because while other indigenous populations were living in squalor and shit and fucking the stories of how they made indigenous, but in this particular time, other like the Dakotas, the indigenous people that come from like the North and South Dakota, man, they were living in tents and fucking like railway cars.
Right. And we're talking about fending off the winter of the
Yes.
Dakotas.
Yeah, because their
Nothing
land was
like what
taken.
we know over here.
Yeah, because their land was taken from them, and then the amount of treaties that your white people love to sign shitty treaties, bro. They'll sign a treaty with you and then have their fingers
A
crossed.
treaty don't mean shit. It's not law.
Yeah.
A treaty don't mean shit, and they'll even change the law too.
Yeah.
So
Just ask the Maroons of Jamaica.
right, when you play their game, you know what I'm saying. When you play their game, this is what we gotta fucking expect. But it's crazy, bro.
Again, man, look, cinematically, I mean, the movie, Scorsese does a good job of a cinematic presence. I'll leave it at that. But are some parts very long-winded? Does it lack historical explanation? I think it places too much on the audience member, right? And that's a problem when you make movies of such magnitude. It's like either you expected the audience to have already read the book, or you expected the audience to have taken a college level fucking Native American history class.
Right.
How am I supposed to fucking know all this? And then when you come in and just it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Another point to what you're saying is when I was watching it for the first time, I'm like, why are these Native American women accepting these white men the way they are? But then you go on to learn that they can't access their funds
Exactly.
without
Without
having a white guardian.
yeah,
You know?
that's what
So,
we call a dilemma.
right. I mean, it's a catch-22.
But
You
then
know what I'm
we
saying?
see that in the movie, just to bring it back to the movie, when Molly comes into the office, and again they should have explained how that office was
Right. How it
what it
works
was.
and who this guy
Yeah,
is and right.
exactly. And he
Right.
did not. And then I think he was like, "Yo, man," he's like running down what she's spending and shit. First of all, we don't even know how much money she got. We don't even know at that point in the movie what that situation is. So I'm like, "Yo, why is this indigenous woman with a she looked like what they call those women back then? Not a bopper, a hopper. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about? The
Right.
1920s,
Yeah.
right? She's looking, like she washes her ass.
Right. For the standards of the time. She keeps up with the standards of the time.
She loofahs her butthole,
Right.
right? And she's in there looking
Yeah.
nice. She's in there looking nice, and this motherfucker's like, "Yo, your mom spent $130 on meat. Do you think that's a lot of meat?" And I'm like, "Is this motherfucker her husband?" Like, it's not well explained. Fucking Marty
Right.
Scorsese. Listen to me. You have to think like the audience member. Stop being so selfish.
Mm. Stop being so fucking selfish.
Seriously, B. One of some of the best fucking flicks are the flicks that fucking that put their foot forward and tell you what's happening.
Right.
I'm not gonna keep this behind you, especially when it has to do with history. Because all it made me do, I mean, and again, that's not gonna be the average listener. That's not gonna be the average fucking a movie watcher, right? Yesterday, I was at my boy's house. I was like, "Yo, man, tomorrow I'm doing the podcast on Killers of the Flower Moon." He's like, that movie was good. I'm like, "Yeah, what was good about it?" He goes, I'm like, "Exactly, motherfucker. Stop using the word good to define everything, yo.
Right.
I take good shits. I smoke good weed. Movies in like 3.5 hours, and you guys good? Nah."
That shit was like 3.5 hours worth of cliff notes. I listen, you know what the problem is? Is like you could watch shit like The Departed, and even though all of these movies are based on somebody who, was really out here doing whatever, they're pretty much straightforward. We know what we're getting into. With
Yes, because
this,
you have gangster shit,
you know what I'm
right?
saying? With
But when you
this,
have a movie that the dialogue is love and manipulation, right? That's the
right,
thing. You could do shootout, bang, 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 kill them up, and that shit is entertaining because there's action sequences.
right,
But if you're making a movie, a play, any form of art that has to deal with the emotional structure, right? And underlining tones, motherfucker, you expect somebody just to sit there and be like, "I know what he's thinking." No, we're all different. Tell me what that guy is thinking. Don't make me guess what he's thinking.
right. It's the guesswork. It's the mysterious guesswork. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Right, right. No, I
it
get it.
doesn't work in that medium.
Now let me ask you this. Did it did it seem to you like they made it seem like everybody, Native Americans, white people, everybody except for Robert De Niro was a little dim?
Oh man, I think I know exactly. I know exactly what you are saying to me when
It's
you say, yeah, I know exactly what you're dim in the sense of not well educated.
no, 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 no. Dim in the sense of the way the camera is portraying this, the way the script is, it seems
Oh,
like
yeah, I
he's
get it.
he's the smartest guy in the room at all times.
That's what I just said, bro. The uneducated. That makes him the smartest guy.
Right, but it's
That's
like
basically it. Yeah.
it's not like everybody it's not like these people are dumb, but it's
No,
like for whatever reason they're portraying it like this guy just hoodwinked everybody. Like he
but
had
that's
the drop on
God. But
everybody.
that's the fucking point I was making in the beginning.
Right.
That this man was a con man,
Mhm.
right? All
Confidence
this
king.
land, all this land. This is a time in I have to go back to Latin America because that's what I fucking teach. But it's a universal. At this point, not universal. Let's go hemispheric. idea of the advancement of commercial agriculture. Did I lose you, everybody? No, just rewind it. It's this is a point in time where it's the late stage of agricultural development, right? This is the last stages, like the cattle economy, right? This is the last stages of what we called in Latin America caudilloism, right? Big landowners. This motherfucker had millions of acres of land. So what happens is, if you're the biggest land, oh, let's go back to the word we use today still, landlord, everyone's looking up to you. And that's a great point you made, because remember that motherfucker walked in and he's like, oh, when the dude died, the leader of the community, and that motherfucker spoke 7 languages, and they never said that shit. They never mentioned that shit in the movie. But he was smarter than that guy. But then they have Robert De Niro come in with his whole Osage fucking speech and shit. And you're like, wow. And that scene is what sets it up for the rest of the movie, that makes you think that he's smarter than everybody, because his fluency in the language, I'm going to take care of you. You know, when I was a young kid, I hung out with all of you guys.
Right.
But that scene was designed to indicate how much of a fucking scumbag he is. But I don't think that Scorsese did a good job of doing that. But that was that. That dude went from being penniless to owning fucking millions of acres.
Right.
But he was doing it off of their backs. And Scorsese didn't fucking depict that. But he used to be a regular cowboy dude, like a straight up moving cattle.
Right. Cattle
And then
rancher.
a cattle rancher. And then with his ability to make money with land, then that's when he became he gained political power. That's back to that whole idea of caudilloism and late state agriculturalism, agricultural economies. These people, landlords, would then gain political power. And when he gained political power, he was a deputy, so he had the sheriffs on board. So that's why that shit, people can go murdered without nobody giving a fuck, because he owned the fucking sheriffs around him.
No investigation.
No investigation. And you know another thing Scorsese didn't do? Remember that she hired a fucking she hires a private investigator.
And they send a white man from the community to Washington, who also gets murdered out there.
Yes, a lawyer. My
Right.
man, there were so many people
They
that
were
got
bold. They were
murdered
bold.
besides that investigator, and
They were real
Scorsese never
bold.
went into that.
Right. Right. So okay. So I think your point is, this movie is like, you got to tell the whole story. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You got to tell the whole story. Right. They were killing a lot of people behind this shit. Right.
Yeah,
Nah,
but
I
I
get it.
mean, but the thing is that not only just a killing, but we also have to. Scorsese should have done a better job of letting us understand how power worked in that movie. So again, let me try to be as clear as possible here for those listening at home or myself when I'm listening to this later. The thing is, right, is that this point in time, it takes place in the 1920s. Yes, again, the 1920s may not, it's only 100 years ago, but we have to understand that in Oklahoma, the 1920s was a very savage time. The U.S. was just solidifying states. My man, Oklahoma was like the 46th state. There were still fucking 4 more to name.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
This is really recent history. New Mexico wasn't a state yet.
Right.
Alaska wasn't a state yet. So regardless, I mean, I'm trying to put this in a historical timeline so that we understand the lawlessness of the land, right? So when you have lawlessness on land, the motherfucker with the most land is the most powerful, right? So I'm just bringing the conversation into power, right? Fucking, there was no FBI yet.
Right. And you know what? That's a good point, because when they do show up, finally, when the government
Right.
does show up, it's the Bureau of Investigation. It's not the
Yes,
it's not the
great.
Federal Bureau.
Nope, not yet, buddy.
You know?
Not for another couple of more years. Great
Right.
job on that, bro. Clap it up.
Is it not true also they took like a lot of the money they were taking, kind of spawned them to it kind of was their personal bank? Did they not use some of the funds from these people to activate their own mission?
Oh, for sure.
There was no training. I mean, look, they're very lucky, and to bring to that idea of the Bureau of Investigation, I think their account, I think, stopped at like maybe 20 something murders, right? When history obviously shows that there was hundreds.
Right. So by the time the Bureau of Investigation shows up,
Yeah.
I believe he says like 35 or something like
Yeah.
that.
So, okay, back to the years 1920. The United States of America becomes a world power in 1918 after World War I. So again, this is a brief period of economic progress. The U.S. starts becoming a world power, right? The U.S.'s first exodus out of the fucking continent was in 1898. So again, this is very short periods of time. So by 1923, it's only 5 years, and there's people coming from war with no jobs. So going out there to exploit and murder indigenous people for money, that sounds like an idea, B.
Right.
It sounds like something we
Right.
do, right?
Right. And
Crazy.
then
I
there's
grew
one
up,
point.
I grew up in Washington Heights, and in the early '90s, they were offering ill jobs for us for people in the lower 48s to go to fucking Alaska, B, and go work
Man.
on the pipeline.
Right.
And yo, I had my boy from 177 was like, yo, dude, I think I'm gonna go do that. And I'm like, ooh, you ever seen a map, nigga? We in Washington Heights. You know where Alaska is? You
St.
know what?
Kansas no more. St.
You
Too
fuck.
far,
Kansas.
too far.
Yo, and you know what? I ain't seen that nigga in like 30 something years. Yo, Eugene,
Damn,
I hope
bro.
you're dead, nigga. Cause that was
Oh.
stupid.
Oh.
That shit
It's
is
Nah.
like
dumb.
that. He said it's like
So
that.
imagine you come back. Nah, guys, so think about that, right? Fuck Eugene. My point is this, right? Now, let's say all three of us come back from war, right? We fought in Europe, World War One. It wasn't the big one. There was no Hitler, right? That's part 2, right? But we come back from war. Right? We both like 20, we all three of us like 24 years old. And you be like, yo, man, why don't you start fucking banging this little squaw? That's what you used to call the indigenous women. This little squaw right here. And I bet you in a couple of years, we murder her together. Look at the loss. Yo, man, in the movie, it said you would get more time for kicking a dog than killing an Indian. You remember that?
It's madness. I wanted to point
Holy
out.
shit. So back to my point. If we come back from war, would you rather go to Alaska or kill an Indian woman for money? It's a better option, God. That's what I'm saying.
You want to go face the final frontier, or you want to go? Yeah, that's crazy.
Or get your dick hard and get a couple of $1 million.
That's
We good.
crazy, man. You remember the guy who was like on the outskirts of shit? He's the one who killed her sister. He's the one who shot her sister. He
Yo,
was married to one woman.
yeah,
She died. He married another woman.
yeah.
Then
He went through the family, nigga.
right. He was planning on killing her children from her previous marriage.
Yup.
So it's like, and then I remember the specific scene. He's sitting with the guy, with the lawyer or whatever, and the lawyer's like, "You do realize that you just laid out your plot for murdering these 2 children." And
What did he say? What did he say?
he said, "Well, I'm not going to do it if I don't get the money and you tell me that I shouldn't," or something along the
Yo,
line.
my man, that line was so cold. But again, that shit should have been framed better.
Right.
Because when he said it, I was like, what? Your mind is like, hold on. What?
You
Like, that
know
just
what it is? You're skimming over the depravity. They're skimming
Yes!
over it.
You're providing innocence for it.
Right. You're skimming over the depravity.
That's my point about history.
Right,
So when you
right.
don't do that in history, when you watch something like this, or when you ponder history, you're skipping over the depravity.
It's madness. I remember seeing that, and you know what the funny thing is? Martin Scorsese is good at short, intense clips while telling the story, right? So we're jumping
Yes.
from here, Now we're with this guy who we've only seen maybe 4 or 5 times on screen. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And
Because
we're seeing how crazy this motherfucker is, and then it's done.
Yeah. See, that's the difference between him and somebody like fucking what was I thinking? You just talked about it, man. The Hateful Eight.
Oh, Quentin.
Well, yeah, with Tarantino, right?
Right.
That's the difference between him and Tarantino. Because Tarantino, he'll give you that one, the liners, the same way Scorsese does, but he'll give you a bit more depth for you to understand that line
Right.
with its depravity.
Right. So, okay, how about this? For a 3 hour and 25 minute sit down, there wasn't enough side character development.
I think it was too much character development, not enough history.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Right.
Like
So
I
like
want to know more
so like
about the
even
Native
even
Americans though. I
yes,
always wanted to know more about them. I didn't want to know like yeah, we're getting into how crazy this shit is, but it's like let us know more about these people, this family. If we're going to focus on this family, let's tell me about the father.
yeah,
Why is he not here? You know what I'm saying? Shit like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. All right, so bam. You know what it is? It's like watching Boys in the Hood, but without the history that's given to you before that. Or
Right.
like letting Doughboy, Doughboy didn't have a dad, or you just went to like just black people shooting each other out of cars. Like that's what we get with the guys in the red car. That's when that shit's kind of very like Shakespearean in a way. Like the guys in the red car, we didn't even know what their beef was.
Right.
They barely ever spoke it. What's wrong with their lives? Why are they so mad? Right?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. But only that they represented murder because it was always about red.
Right. It
Even
was
when
the other side.
even when they were eating the fries, all that ketchup at the end, the
Right.
red, the murderness. I mean, the same way fucking Coppola uses oranges in fucking in The Godfather, right?
Right.
That color shit. But you don't understand. You don't understand why that, right? That's what we need when it comes to history. I mean, you could do that in those movies, I guess, in a way. If you're going to detail so many actual historical things, not just but more of the government, the institutional development that caused this situation and made it possible for regular human beings to believe that they can murder other human beings and it not be that bad, because it wasn't, as you pointed out earlier. All three of these cocksuckers died on the outside,
Free men.
free men, right? So it wasn't that bad, I guess.
You know what? When you say that, it so okay, for
And
those
hold
who
on, real quick,
go
just
ahead.
so everybody know this, because I mentioned like hood movies. All my man, motherfuckers was bitch ass, snitch motherfuckers. Remember that whole sequence where they would bring the motherfuckers like, all right, give me a piece of paper, and they all
Right.
just kept snitching on each other. These
Right.
motherfuckers had no loyalty.
It's crazy because for those who haven't seen it, once you see it for the second time, a lot of people are not going to sit through it twice. I already know that. But once you see it a second time, you really start to see the undertones of racism in every scene. So
Everything.
it's boiled down to even the extras in the background looking at the Native Americans, and you can tell that whatever, they're
Scheming.
obviously you're right.
Scheming.
They're mouthing because they're actors, but there were schemes. Every
Yeah.
single scene.
Yeah.
Every single scene is that. And that's for me why I have to take the time to really get into these movies, because I'm the type of person that I'm looking at, okay, so her sister Anna, right?
Yeah.
She gets killed in a crazy way. They find her in a crazy way. The autopsy is fucking horrendous, ridiculous, right? There's a scene where he's comforting Molly, right? And there's two guys standing behind them. And you can just tell that they were instructed to act, you know what I'm saying? Like a certain type of way.
So
Like, so
let me throw this at you,
yeah.
because you went into the whole race thing, and I had mentioned something to you, and I thought you were gonna bring it up already, and you did it. So you gotta take better notes.
No, nah, for real.
Yo, and for those lights, camera, actions, rhinoceros funk. I want you guys to know something out there. This is not for you guys. This is for the audience. I want you to know something. I'm fucking good. I watched this movie one time 2 weeks ago, and I can recall it like I wrote it
Nah, yeah, you
myself.
can. Yeah, you
So,
can.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, do remember, it's Rhinoceros Funk. He's like Jesus watching movies on cocaine.
Lights, camera, distraction.
So back to the idea of race, right? And this is how I couldn't be able to do this without you, because we're going back and forth and you bringing things up that bring up my memory. So just to make that point, you mentioned race, yes, and here's the thing with race. You mentioned the sister. One of the big things was that she was a fucking drunkard. They
Right.
couldn't get over that this fucking Indian woman was drinking.
Right. And she'll clap you. And she had the burner in the bag. And she'll
Yes.
shoot you the fuck up.
Meanwhile,
Right. Right.
meanwhile, Do you remember the scene when she goes, Molly goes to Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he goes, do you like whiskey? He goes, no. I love whiskey.
Right. I don't like it. I love it.
Yo,
Right.
yo, it's all right for you to be white and drinking, even till to this day, right? You watch TV and motherfuckers like, yo, I need a drink. It's 10 a.m., nigga. It's 10 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
Calm down. If I did that shit, or if you drive right here on 161 and you see all these motherfuckers waiting for the liquor store to open at 10 o'clock, they got a problem. But you don't have a problem, right?
Right.
So they demonize her because she's indigenous, because she likes to drink, right? And do remember, guys, this is a period in time where the U.S. was at also a religious fucking zealot fanatics. Remember, we were going in, we were about to go into the wholesale act. We were about to fucking prohibition was about to
Right.
come up in this country. So there was this big demonization behind drinking, especially with women and especially with uncivilized women like indigenous. And then the other thing that I had mentioned to you before was this thing about the Jew.
Mm.
That
Right.
he called DiCaprio's character a Jew, and then they
There
brought
were multiple references to him
yeah.
being a Jew.
But William Hale was a massive, from what he projected, a massive Christian.
Right.
So I'm still trying to figure out where he got this whole Jew thing from.
I think that is where, okay, so I feel like that's where, like you were saying, to reference Rhino's earlier comment.
When I said the Jew thing.
Oh, okay, right.
Yes.
I think that that was what, it was a term for somebody who was, tight with money or greedy, or there were a
Yes.
lot of derogatory
Yes.
terms that were derived from,
Yeah.
the what is perceived to be the Jewish condition. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
So, great. I mean, I'm glad I brought you back to your fucking point, yo, because that's a great fucking point.
Right.
Because we also see that, right? The idea of race and the perception of race from these Anglo-Saxons, in that period. Let's go back to where they went into the silent film, and they showed what the attack on it was it Black Wall Street, in Tulsa.
Right.
The riots of
That was the
Tulsa.
Black Wall Street. That was
No, but it was the riots of Tulsa of 1924, something like that, right?
right.
And the whole thing was, I mean, they showed the decimation of that town. Shit like Gaza. Yeah, I gotta bring that up. What up? What up? But then they walk out the movie theater, and then William Hill character is like, those damn niggers. Blamed it on the black man for being attacked and having their town burnt down. So there was always this blaming factor. It was never their fault.
Right, right. And you know what? I can appreciate that he put that in there for two reasons. One of the reasons is it goes to show you propaganda.
Oh, hell yeah.
American propaganda.
Hell yeah.
That was a movie that that some filmmakers went through, and they recorded this footage. Just so happens that when there's riots in Tulsa, and then there's
Oh no, but let me. I'm sorry. That was actually another booming economy. That was the newspaper for people. I mean, this is a time where the moving picture. This is what we're doing, right?
right.
The moving picture is being extended out beyond the East Coast,
It
right?
reminded me a lot of The
1920s.
Birth of a Nation.
Yes, but Birth of the Nation was right before that. But
Right.
what I'm talking about is the idea of people going to theaters to get information,
Right.
right? Like I live on 161 right here, bro. On 161, there are an obvious 4 theaters that were created in the early 20th century, because Yankee Stadium was here. This is an area where there were people with money, and they would go to these theaters not to watch just films,
Right.
but to
News.
watch the news of the day.
The war broadcasts were often.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Right. So you have to understand these were theaters that were businesses of information,
Social hubs.
social hubs, and also, I mean, creators of narratives.
Right.
They were the
Right.
ones who taught you how to think.
They also taught you how to eat. Edward
Yes,
Bernays.
I mean this is the reason why the U.S. invaded Cuba in 1898 because they would show the atrocities of the Spanish government on poor Cubans, and they would show that shit here in New York. And then some Cubans will come from Cuba and try to gain political support. And by showing these clips, which were doctored, the U.S. got a whole bunch of motherfuckers to join the army and the military
Right.
and invade it. So my point is that these are hubs of intellectual development, and this is why I love this segment, because now it now necessarily doesn't have to be in the. I mean, we just finished leaving the theater. If it
Right.
wasn't for COVID, we always still be going to the theater, dude.
Very true.
Right? So these were.
Well, hold
So
on. Let
my
me
point
stop
is
you
that.
there. Let me stop you there. I stopped going to the theaters when the fucking bed bugs was in the spot.
Yeah, that's you, man. You're not the $1 billion movie theater going population,
Right,
motherfucker.
right.
You know what I mean? I hate when these niggas do that shit. I'm like, if we start making movies tomorrow, we can end poverty, nigga, on the planet.
Yo, for real.
That's how big that shit is. And you're
Right.
telling me you stop
Right.
going? You know, 695, nigga. You know, 695,
695.
and
Shit.
you brought in stolen fucking milk duds.
I
Yo,
brought the snacks in, so they ain't getting that.
listen.
Yo, my man, I ran to my niece the other day, and I gave her a big hug, and I was like, "You remember when we saw the theaters when you were a kid, and I'll make you steal all that candy?" She's like, "Yeah, I do," and I'm like, "You want to do it again?" Fuck, I ever
For old
shove
time's
mad
sake.
candy down my armpits like that. We good.
Yo, it was a different time back in the day, man. Going to the movies, I feel like, all three of us can attest to, like you're saying, okay, so the movie culture on each coast, obviously Hollywood, right? But
Yeah,
the movie going culture on the East Coast in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania
yeah,
is so serious that it's a big reason why I'm so tied into this shit, because that was the thing to do as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were lucky enough, you had a parent or a guardian or somebody older that would hold you down and take you to a flick every once in a while. And it was a
what?
big deal, bro. It was
Yeah.
a big deal.
Again, if you want to examine the history of movie theater, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, to this day, I still go to movie theaters, but I go to the Alamo, right? I don't go to regular movie theaters, bro. I go to the Alamo because there's a strict policy of you better not have a fucking phone on. They serve you food. You could buy drinks. My man, it's expensive,
Where's this
but
place at?
the Alamo, you never been, motherfucker?
Now we gotta go. I've never
Yo,
been.
me and you, no man, they sell beer.
Oh, we gotta
Yo,
go.
my man, that shit. You have a menu, bro. You can get burgers. You can get what the fuck you want. The
Nah.
seats recline. Yo, if you turn your phone on, bro, Hitler time. We all get
So
to jump you.
yeah. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna plan an excursion to the
Yeah,
Alamo.
dude, man, drivers, don't worry about it, man. Go to the one in Yonkers, it's fantastic. The point of the story is, I need, I need to focus on on what I'm watching. You know what I mean? And I mean, yeah, we did this shit, smoke weed in the back of the wild out, but now I'm older. Like, yeah, I need I need to be in this motherfucker. But I love that experience. That experience is still a very cool experience.
Right. I like that. I like the sound of that. Yeah, because you know what? It's funny. Real quick. This has nothing to do with what we're
That
talking
don't
about.
matter.
But I remember Guru and me being in school when we was in school in like 2011. Um, that was right when motherfuckers was on their phones. Like, that was the beginning of
Oh,
people being distracted by the phone.
oh,
And
right.
to see it now, to see how far it's come, and you'll see motherfuckers walk into
Oh,
you'll see motherfuckers walk onto the highway looking at their phone. You know what I'm
oh,
saying? It's just it's amazing, and it speaks to propaganda, and like you were saying, it speaks to how the phones have now replaced the movie theaters in many instances and become
yeah.
the intellectual social hubs of
So
our existence.
see, you said that this had nothing to do with it, but it did, man. It's apropos to everything, my man. The name of the fucking podcast, once again, the segment is Lights, Cameras, Distraction.
Right.
You're in it, baby. You're in the zone, baby boy. Right. So my point is this: if you understand that we live in a culture where people cannot be not looking at their fucking, you know, I live this shit. My mom's called me fucking 7 times yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I'll call her back like 8 hours later. She's like, yo, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, I was not paying attention to my phone.
Right.
If we live in a world that people cannot not be on their phone, not now, I get it. Double negative, which means that you get it. How the fuck you gonna make a 3 hour and 25 minute movie and not explain shit? Nigga? That's my
Right.
point.
Right.
Like that shit. Why would you make that kind of art?
So, at what point do you think, like, at what point do you think it's it's almost subconscious that they're making these movies knowing that people are gonna have to go Google the background?
I mean, listen. As a person who likes research, I respect it.
Right.
But I'm not making this argument for me, right? Because I obviously have a very in-depth analysis of this movie. But my point is, if this was a novel or something that never really occurred, then yes, right? What just came to my mind? One of my man crushes, my nigga Brad Pitt. What's that fucking movie, man? Where he was Tristan. Not a river runs through it. With Hopkins.
Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the fucking Fall. I love it.
It's a good one. It's a
Another
good one.
one with indigenous people,
Right.
and but it does it gives you the surroundings of it, where you understand that that there were fucking misguided treaties with the Dakota people, right? And this is the situation, but it kept it within the family situation, right? It didn't explore the indigenous question. But when you make a movie that not only explores the indigenous question, but has a substantial fucking binding need for comprehension to understand the contemporary situation of these people today, which still to this day deal with deplorable infrastructure, deplorable policing, deplorable fucking community relations with the outside world. There is a genocide happening right now where they keep fucking killing their women. These fucking truckers, my man. The situation that happens today to these people can all be explained and understood if you went back to the history and provided a proper narrative for it. Rhinoceros Funk, lick your finger and put that on a piece of paper.
That's 100% true. You
That's
know,
fact, bro.
there's actually a lot of movies, a lot of different shows nowadays that do represent, like, reservation life and stuff like
Yes,
that.
yes, that reservation dogs. You see that shit on
I love that
FX?
show. I love
Yo,
that
we gotta
show.
do that shit soon. We'll do
Yeah,
that shit
nah, we'll
soon,
do
dude.
we'll do the first season. We'll do the first
Yeah,
season.
yo, that shit is wild. But all right, so for example, right, and this one pisses me the fuck off, right? So let's say you wanted to make a movie about black people in the 1920s,
Right.
right? And you didn't tap into the Reconstruction period of the post-Civil War, of the terror that was occurring to black people in order to create the conditions of like the 1920s.
Mm.
Then you would just think, oh, these black people can't get it together. Get it together, bum. Kicking the ass. Get it together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's irresponsible. But it's his art, man. I see through it. That's what I want people to do. It's like, yo, man, hold on. Did that really happen? Question things, right? It's not Marty. It's not Marty McFly. Yo. You know he can't. He don't have a hover. But this really happened. So my thing is, I would implore people to say, okay, what is the story behind this? Let me not just take Marty's view on it. Let me go research a little bit and say and do that footwork.
Right. Let's talk about the acting.
Yes.
Obviously, we're talking about the highest caliber of acting.
Whoa,
You
whoa,
know,
whoa, whoa, whoa! I wasn't on it.
you don't think so?
I said I wasn't on it.
Right. Listen. Rhino didn't. He didn't have a cameo in it, so
Yeah, I ain't get a
let's dial
cameo.
it
So
back.
it wasn't the highest.
This is the ninth level. This is the ninth level.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was pretty good. I give
All
it
right.
9.5, but it was
Fair
a
enough.
10.
It was a 10.
If I was in there real quick, it'd have been
It'd have been a 15.
a
Out of this
15 and a
world.
half.
Yeah. So
Silliness.
I never felt like smacking Robert De Niro more in my life.
Like what? I'm sorry, I missed
I
it.
never felt like smacking Robert De Niro more in my life.
Oh
I've
man.
never sat through a role with him where it was like, bro, it was monstrous on another level. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, yeah, man. It
Yeah.
was crazy. So yeah, how do you feel?
Yeah. That's the thing, man. Like Robert De Niro to me is Robert De Niro. You see what I'm saying? Like I definitely I would have not casted Robert De Niro in that role. Yeah. I definitely and I'm glad you brought up this acting thing because I can do this well too, people. Nice camera's distraction. I'm not just over here talking shit about history. I definitely would have got I know we mentioned I mean you and I mentioned off the podcast, but There Will Be Blood. I think Daniel Day Lewis would have been fantastic, like a Daniel Day Lewis, because he's like 50 something. Like he's more of the
Right.
age that this dude was, right?
And you know what? That would have made it even more chilling.
Exactly, because he Daniel Day Lewis looks like he.
Oh
So
man.
you know what it was with Robert De Niro. It gave the William Hale character this old man, kind of naive.
Right.
So this
Innocent
naive
kind
look.
of right.
Oh,
Grandfather. Right.
I'm just asking you because like he was asking you to do shit the whole time. So he gave it like a little grandfather.
Right.
You know, she's a nice looking girl, right? You know, it never really again explains how deviant he really was.
You know why that would have been dope? That would have fucking reunited fucking Daniel Day-Lewis and Leo after Gangs of New York.
That's my point,
That would have been crazy.
right?
Wow.
I think that could have been a good balance.
That would have been crazy.
You still could have kept your little cameos and shit. I mean, he
Right.
did his Martin Scorsese did his own cameo at the end.
Yes, he did at the on stage.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
he
didn't
did.
mention that one. I remember that he did his own cameo. I mean, like, come on, you could have saved some money in other places. You could
Right.
have had me. I would have done something for free, bro. I would have played Molly.
Right. And you know what? It's like it's strange because it plays to that last 5 minutes of the movie really plays to how they're trying to take this out of reality.
Yeah,
You're trying to take this out of reality because I mean I don't really listen, spoilers ahead, right? The
no,
last 5 minutes of the movie, the camera kind of it takes us to a different place. Now we're on stage and we're led to believe that all of this was a play.
no. Let me explain it.
Yeah, see, explain
Yeah.
it to me because
All right.
that
All
got
right.
me.
So, oh man. So I don't know how long it was ago, but we were talking about the Bureau of Investigation,
Right,
right?
right.
So, how does the FBI come about? Well, the FBI. This
J.
is
Edgar
again,
Hoover, the
yes,
kidnapping.
but listen,
Right,
J. Edgar Hoover is a thing during the movie, yes, but the Federal Bureau of Investigation is not there yet,
right, right,
right? What's happening is they're developing their moxie over here with these criminal cases. But what happens a couple of years after that is that they start doing economic crimes, right? And that starts getting the attention of Washington to say, oh shit, hold up. You're trying to get these niggas on money, right?
right,
So that means that they're going after our money, right? So then let's invest in a bureau that's gonna stop motherfuckers from making money that we could be making,
right.
right? And that's what makes the Federal Bureau of Investigation so a thing, right? I think it's Coolidge who does that, Calvin Coolidge. But here is how the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because remember, they took down Capone. But how did they take down Capone? Money.
Right.
So they start targeting motherfuckers with money, and that's what makes them so big. But what makes the FBI even bigger? The FBI around this time, they become big because gangbusters.
Right.
They start becoming like a radio shit. So what you see at the end is an actual FBI radio show that they were reproducing.
Ah, see, I did
And
not know
so
that.
now what you get here in this movie is not only the understanding in the beginning of the advancement, which we were talking about earlier, the advancement of the moving picture economy to relay messages. Remember when we just
Right,
had this conversation?
right.
But now every family in the United States, but like by the mid, not every family, but you understand what I'm saying. A lot more families in the 1920s are now buying radios, nigga.
Mm-hmm.
So the radio shows become real things.
Right.
like Little Orphan Annie and
The
shit
Lone
years
Ranger.
later.
Right.
Yeah, these
Right.
radio shows that then help people become part of the American hegemony.
Wow.
And that radio show was being produced live. And I found that shit to be fucking fascinating because you see all the sounds like as you was typing away. I listen to shows like that on YouTube now. This is what gets me my inflections and the way I talk and shit
Right.
and my ideas. Like I saw that shit and I'm like, the way he types and all the sound bands and then it's Scorsese at the end, right? But those are the shows that made radio mystery stories, radio
Right.
novels, all that shit.
Orson Welles.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Great fucking point. Because it was Orson Welles' Wars of Attack, whatever the fuck we all
War of
know.
the Worlds.
Yeah, that it was only like 5 years after that.
Right. So this was really the foundation of radio. So
Yeah,
there's a connection to be made between true crime retellings and the foundation of American radio.
that's my point.
Right. Right. I like
Because
that.
there is so much there that you're not doing a good job of building a timeline. I'm telling you, as a person who teaches history, I understand the importance of laying down a proper description.
Right.
Because that shit at the end, if you don't tell people what they're watching at that point, today and date, like you didn't know what the fuck that was. Like, and another person might say, "Oh, what the fuck is going on here?" But that's what that was. It was a recap of the movie through the FBI's radio show.
Wow.
Yeah,
So I completely misjudged it, but now that I know what that is, I can appreciate it even more.
Yeah,
Even
dude.
more.
That's what I saw when I saw that show. I was like, I rewinded that part. I was like, that was dope.
He's good at that, man. He's very good at like I said, showing us short clips of certain things that kind of don't go with the story but coincide in some way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I fuck with him, man.
Yeah.
I fuck with. So let me ask you this. We got to go around before we wrap it up.
Yep.
How many buckets of popcorn do you give Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon?
One.
Dang. Explain.
Because I will never, ever, ever have to watch that movie ever again.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I see that even the harder they fall. If I see that, if I see that shit real quick, I can be like, you know what, I'll click on it, and then I can still fast forward the parts, that I found interesting. But in Killers of the Flower Moon, I am not. If I gave you the one because I could probably throw it on and then skip all 3 hours and 20 minutes to get to the last part. I
Right.
don't need to revisit any of those scenes. It's not an action movie. There isn't something that you're like, oh shit, how they did this trick, how they pull this action sequence off. The dialogue is not that intriguing. It's a very sad story that's not told very well. I'm going to back to that line. It's a sad story that's not told very well. So what are you going to do? You're going to go back to it and what? You're going to watch fucking, this nigga feed his wife poison? I mean, I'm not going back to it. So I'm giving it a 1.
Fair enough. Guru.
One and done. One and done.
One and done for you as well.
No. I was just saying for him. In terms of me, I it was cool for what it was, but yeah, I think as we have these conversations more, the historical piece, like it's kind of just it's fodder, right? It's just entertainment. So stop
Yeah.
going into it, then you're gonna learn something. Go to school for that. You know?
Look up what really happened.
Yeah,
Right.
I like that period of history. I think it's interesting how they play those people and manipulated them. Um, I would be more interested in hearing more about that, just strictly what really happened. But movie, I guess I'll give it a 5.
You give it a 5 buckets
I
of
give it a
popcorn.
5. Why not? Out of 10, right?
No, this is out of 5.
Oh, 1 then. Fuck it.
Woo! All right.
Because I thought we did. I thought we did out of 10 the first time.
Now we did 5. It was always out of
Okay,
5.
fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna
No,
go with
you
1
went.
then. Fuck it.
You went for fucking. That's bad hilarious.
That's called a long reversal right there. That's a long reversal.
Yeah, but no, it's a good movie. It's good. I give it a 5. Whoa. I won.
Yeah, fuck that.
He came down
Nah,
to
I
my joint.
understand it. If you ask me, I give it. I listen. Yeah, 3.5 for me. I give it 3.5 because I'm the type of person. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to you two and your opinion of this movie. Only because, um, I think, like I said, I think it was well acted. I think it was cinematically pleasing.
Yeah.
The optics are pleasing. I really enjoy period pieces. You know what I'm saying? I just for the simple fact of, even the costumes and stuff like that. I really enjoy it, and then I can appreciate just as flawed as this story is. There's a major motion picture about it, and I had
Yeah.
no idea that this happened until I saw the trailer 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I do agree that there's a lot more that could have been said. There's a lot more that should have been said. There's a lot more things that you should have touched on. Well, he should have touched on when it comes to like just the not just focusing on her family. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
like you said, it happened. This was widespread in this area. It wasn't just so you have to imagine, okay, there were levels of this money, right?
Yeah.
The top
I mean,
level of go ahead.
I'm sorry because what you did, you really brought up another point. I mean, they were the methods of killing these people when it came to like fucking making it like suicide, mass poisonings. I mean, he should have got into that.
Right.
And just because you kind of helped me remember that real quick. Yeah.
Nah, for sure. And yeah, man, it's an unfortunate story. And I just think, yeah, you get 3.5 large buckets of popcorn from MOD because once again we come across a major Hollywood effort, star-studded cast,
Yeah.
major inaccuracies, but still in all a story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Awesome. Awesome. Yo, make sure y'all come back next week. Listen to another breakdown where
What's the assignment, man? What's the assignment?
you know what the assignment is, yo? I just made my decision real quick. Next week we're gonna do the Oceans trilogy.
Fair enough.
Y'all fans of Oceans
Yeah,
11, 12, and 13?
for sure.
Get ready, B, because I know every line of every single movie.
Nah, yeah, I like the first one. The first one I like a lot, and I like the third one a lot.
Yo, man, the third one is classic, B. And I mean, and there's a lot of actors to talk about. We see Al Pacino. I mean, the fucking the car riders. The fuck. I mean, oh man, there's just so many fucking actors. So many things we could discuss on all three. And I'll have. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna break down. I mean, we'll break them down as a trilogy,
Right, right,
so we could navigate these conversations in different universes and shit like that, and make you guys really think about how people place together projects, right?
right.
Because I mean, what Steven Soderbergh does, in the sense of different styles of each movie while keeping a uniformity, but then the music, how the music changes,
Hmm.
it's fucking, I think it's a phenomenal trilogy. I got Ocean's 8 in the background, and I'm like, oh, I just love Sandra Bullock. I just always think her vagina is gold.
It's pure bouillon.
Yeah, it just
Mhm.
definitely has like little golden pubes. But yo, my name's Rhinoceros Funk. Motherfucking lights, cameras, action. Lights, cameras, distraction. But yo, also tune into Gorilla Grooves Radio, man. Try to do that shit every single Tuesday
Yes, sir.
on the Mixalaw. Gorilla Grooves Radio from 7 to 10 on Tuesdays. Lights, cameras, distractions on Sundays. My life is sweet. Thank you, gentlemen.
You heard it first. MOD, Guru Dane, Rhinoceros
Salute.
Funk. Tap in. Peace.
Perhaps I don't want what you think I want. And if there's nothing you can give me, perhaps there is something that I can give you.